Hello and welcome to Talking TSM, the Game House's talk show about TSM's LCS team. I'm Robert Haynes, and I'll be your host, your guide into the world of TSM. Announcement, the only important one, is this is the first Monday show. Welcome. Yes, we are having 2 shows a week, as was suggested, where I'll be taking deeper dives into what happened the week before and what happens hopefully in the coming week. So, as a quick note, yeah, like my goal for this Monday show is to dive a little deeper into what happened with the past weekend, good or bad. I'm not LS, so I won't have, crazy statistics or anything that, my understanding of the game is not at his level currently. But, I'm going to try to break it down the best way that I can. Hope you all understand, what I saw. Hopefully you will, also have seen it. If not, then maybe you can look for some of these things. And as always, I'm open to feedback, but yeah, the goals of these shows are to, maybe be 30, 45 minutes each, allowing you to get 2 doses of Talking TSM while not exactly having too much longer of a listen. And it allows us to just focus more on these aspects. So I'm excited to dive in, and we're going to jump right on in. So EG, which was a win for TSM, was a pretty good game, honestly, for TSM. It wasn't great. There were some issues, to say the least, but they made it through, and they got the dub here, which was honestly like really awesome and really important for this team going forward. So absolutely excited about that. But let's kind of dive into what happened. So, looking at the TSM draft, they draft the Azir, they draft the Gnar, they draft the Galio. There's a lot of disengage from TSM on this game. And so I'm extremely happy about this because I feel like it was something that TSM needed in a really big way, with the way that the Evil Geniuses comp was coming out. They bring out the Samira, the Rel, and the Hecarim, which, isn't a bad thing to do. And actually, TSM will make a similar mistake that EG make in this game in their 3rd game of the week. But, there's so much disengage here, between everybody that it's going to be very hard for Evil Geniuses to get on to TSM. So I like that. The only thing here with the TSM draft that made no sense to me is why they take Nidalee here. Especially if she's going Moonstone Renewer, which she does. And Spica just, while he's a great Nidalee, obviously, this whole game he just doesn't really look comfortable on her. And when you look at the rest of the team comp, it just doesn't fit that well. They don't need the damage, which is, again, why he goes Moonstone Renewer on her. Because Power of Evil and Lost are going to do plenty of damage with the Kai'Sa and the Azir. And the rest of the team has disengaged. It just almost feels like they're like, all right, Speaker, we're just going to throw you on something that you're comfortable on, and we'll just see if it has an impact in the game. And it kind of doesn't. I think that they could have gone J4, which is in the meta currently. He's especially going to be in the meta in the next week, I would have to think. And he's, Spica is a good J4. They could have even potentially gone Rek'Sai or Volibear or Kindred. All of those options I would have liked. For the Rek'Sai, if the goal is to get onto the back line, I think that that's a much safer option than what they go with Spica on the Nidalee here. I think Volibear can also do the same thing, and he can also counter the Hecarim. I think that it's a pretty good matchup because Hecarim just runs in and just bare fist down, stuns him instantly, right? And again, he can also get to the back line as Volley with his ultimate. And then with Kindred, right, they just play together. He drops the ultimate, keeps everybody in the same spot. You can have Galio come over top. You can have Spica, or you can have Huni ulting. You can have Power of Evil push them out while TSM gets all the healing. There's a lot of different ways I think they could have gone here, and this was the start of what I thought was a weekend of some questionable draft decisions, honestly, even in their wins. And I don't fully get it. I'm, again, as a jungler, I don't play a lot of Nidalee. I do play some good Hecarim, or some good amounts of Hecarim. And it's not like this is like a bad matchup, I don't think, into Hecarim, really. I know that if a Nidalee Spear hits him, it's going to hurt, but you're also like one of the fastest champions in the league, in the game, so you can very easily just dodge. I don't know. Felt really weird here. I think there was a lot of different things, but also the most important part of this draft. They finally picked Galio. They did it. Holy moly, I can't believe it. I'm so excited. And it looked good. This team works well with Sword Art. Like, Emily Rand even said it directly on the desk after this game. When Sword Art is able to get around the map and use things like globals on Galio or on Pantheon, or even running around with Bard, as we talked about last week, this team just looks better because he's able to move around the map. Like, that's the thing is like, we know the style of Sword Art. We know what makes him good. He's going to win in vision control, and he's going to create opportunities for the rest of his laners. And in the games that they win, this is what happens. So I love the Galio pick here. I love it so much. I think it works really well with the team. The extra shielding, Svenskeren tries to jump in on somebody. Oops, there's a Galio, right? Either he's already there or he ults in. He's got the taunt, which is absolutely outstanding. He's even got the knockup, which can definitely stop a charging Hecarim. I really like it. And, for the bot lane 2v2 as well, like, sure, Rel can jump in, but Galio can just taunt her or the Samira. As soon as Samira jumps in, guess what? Taunt. As soon as Rel jumps in, taunt. And that just allows Lost to have all the room in the world that he wants to. He also, because he's playing Kai'Sa, if they try to jump in, he's likely able to just ult out. Again, Azir, Gnar just push Samira out. It's really, really, really good. And, Evil Geniuses just has a weird draft. Like, I don't even mind the Rise, but they didn't even really get to use it. The early game is still an issue. Weirdly, like, PoE is getting focused a lot early, and teams are doing a lot of level 3 ganks on him and on Huni. And I think that TSM need to start prepping for that. It's something that we will see multiple times this weekend. Some of the ganks worked, some of them don't. In this situation, it does. It gets Jizuke, I believe, an early kill. And, yeah, not great. Then Sword Art, coming up clutch with the Galio. Again, he's using his W, his Shield of Durand, which also has the taunt. And he does it over the wall to help set up kills for Lost early. And it's a good fight when TSM's already a little bit behind. It then allows them to, move around the map a little bit more freely. And it just overall, I don't know, just helps the team. Now, it is still interesting that TSM, just they don't seem to have a plan for the early game. They just seem to be very content to farm and just do nothing else outside of that, which is fine, but it just, I don't know, it feels weird. And then the other thing here, by the way, so they're able to push off the Hecarim after this kill for Lost. And I'm looking at it, they're all about, I don't know, 66% health. And we know that, Ignar's dead. There's no way Deathly and Svenskeren can come in, and Azir has Rise pushed out of the tower because he's afraid he's gonna get killed under tower, because TSM just did this. Why not go take the Drake right now? Like, I'm looking at it, Spica has Smite up. There's no reason to just give up Drake here after you just win a fight, just to go back and get items. You can go look at it. I mean, around 6 minutes, they just take the Drake. They end up giving up first Drake a little bit later on, and I'm sitting here like, we're almost 10 minutes into the game, and TSM's more focused on getting the Rift Herald than getting the first Drake. And the thing is like TSM wants them to team fight them. That's what they're built for. They're built for, hey, you come into us, we disengage you, and then we jump back in and fight. And they show this in this game, but they have an opportunity to take a free early Drake, and they just don't do it. And we're at 9 minutes plus right now. And the first Drake gets taken at 10:25 by Evil Geniuses, whereas, again, TSM could have taken it way before then for free. And TSM has a weird, I don't know, I don't want to call it a fetish, but like a weird thing where they love Rift Herald. I mean, they love them some Rift Herald, and it's very strange. Anyways, after this, PoE gets a kill in the mid lane for himself. It's a really nice play. I like what Huni, before this, by the way, as well, is trying to do. He's trying to keep them all here so that Sword Art can jump in, and Spica can do damage. This is on a dive in the top lane by EG. He sees it. He knows what's happening, but he hopes that he can stay long enough for the team to get there. He just dies too quickly. They're not able to really to make it happen. But as this game goes on, after the PoE solo kill, which was so nice, by the way, like Lost is and Sword Art are really starting to come together. Like you can see they're moving around the map well. They are, like, Lost is really able to position himself well based on what Sword Art is doing, and I think that's really important. They get kind of caught here in the blue side jungle, by Blue Buff and Grump. Sword Art, again, just is able to soak up so much damage because it's just Jizuke and Svenskeren on him. Impact, ends up coming, but can't really do much except just sit over the wall and hope that, that he's able to help out in some way. But this is such a great fight from them, even with they're in a 3v4 here before the Azir gets here. They buy so much time, and then Huni's Gnar is just so clean. Like, in the middle of Impact, hitting him over the edge with barrels and everything, he just jumps right in. Only Ignar is on Sword Art and Lost. He's not going to be able to kill them. And the early damage that the Galio is able to help out and get here, along with Lost. Lost is just poking him from over the side there. And then, Huni just throws him into the wall, and it looks so nice. He's finally picking his fights in the right way. And it just looks so good. And Power of Evil comes in to clean everything up. It's such a nice fight from this team. And that's, when you're playing the Gnar, you want to have the smaller corridor so you can use his ultimate better. And it just looks so good. They're taking advantage of EG's mistakes, which is something I think this team does very well. But, later on in this game, we start seeing Spica actually miss smites. Like, a lot. They are able to end up taking the Baron, or, able to take the Baron here. Let me see. Where's this at? I don't remember. But either way, like, he barely misses the Baron, and luckily, his teammate grabs it. But, like, this is starting to become a bit of a problem for somebody who's known for being a smite stealer. And we see it for the rest of the weekend. The fight at the third Drake, by the way, for TSM is just such a good fight, right? They're setting up well. They're all near each other because they know that even if Rel goes in, they have plenty of disengage. Power Evil even takes a chunk from Impact. But they're just positioning so well. Again, Spica misses the smite. Luckily, that's where it was. Spica misses the smite at the third Drake. Ignar goes in. Even Svenskeren's able to do, layer everything else. But the thing is Huni and Sword Art are able to just disengage so much. And this is against a Rel and a Hecarim. Something that they lost to earlier in the season. They learned from their mistakes with this combo, right? And you just see you're watching this again. They're layering everything. Luckily, Lost is not caught in it, and neither is Power of Evil. So they sure they're able to engage, but they're only able to engage on Spica, Sword Art, and Huni, not the damage sources for TSM. And Huni is able to get into Mega Form, right? Pushes them against the wall. You have the Galio ult over top, giving the shield to, three of the members, while Power of Evil is just sitting here, just having a good old time. And Jizuke's not able to get into the fight. And TSM just plays this so well. Definitely's never able to really get anywhere or do anything because he can't get his bar up. TSM get the quadra kill and the game's over for Power of Evil there. And it just looks good. And the Galio and the Gnar are huge. They TSM are picking good comps to play around and making plays. And we'll see it throughout the weekend. Spica kind of feels like he's not having an impact though. And that's expected. Again, he's on a Nidalee that again, he's going Moonstone, or no, doesn't end up going Moonstone. I apologize. I forgot about this. He ends up going Divine Sunderer, which I still don't really understand completely. I really don't. I don't know that item as well. I've not really used it. It doesn't go on any of the champions I really play, so I don't know. A lot of people were questioning it. I still think it's weird, and again, he just has no impact. TSM know how to close out fights. That's a great game for them. We head into the 100 Thieves game. So this is the big one, right? For me, this is the one I was like, all right, they can win this one, then they're looking pretty legit. But it's interesting because this game really felt strange. Like, you're in draft here, and TSM pick Kaisa. 100 Thieves responds with Senna Tahm Kench, which is pretty popular right now. Makes sense. It's a good combo. But then they go Rel and Hecarim. And 100 Thieves says, all right, well, we want Syndra. We banned out the Azir. We want the Syndra. They ban out the Orianna. And it's like, okay, I mean, Power of Evil can play Ryze. He can play, Victor. He can play like any other kind of control-ish type mage, bruiser type mage. He gets the Victor. Then they pick Nidalee. Again, very strange with this comp. I guess they're just hoping that FBI can continue what he's been doing on the Senna, which is just wreck people late game, and that I think that this is a game that closer actually goes Moonstone Renewer. And excuse me. TSM again have this great engage. There's nothing to stop them. And they pick the Victor, and then they go into the Gnar. Now, here's the deal. Against a pokey type team here, I actually think that while they win this game handily, right? I actually think this is another big draft mistake. I get that Huni's feeling good on Gnar. He's feeling comfortable. But, they leave themselves open for the Jace counter, which comes. And, sure, maybe they don't want to give up the Gnar. Maybe that's what they're thinking, right? They're like, okay, like the Gnar is the one thing that 100 Thieves can pick here that is going to help them have a better team fight, right? A better disengage. So maybe that's where the thought process comes in. But truthfully, I think Shen just works better here. You have Speaker running in. You even could have Sword Art running in. You can even have Lost on the Kaisa jump on in. And if you layer it well with Shen, which Huni has shown to be able to do, then the team just wins the fight. It's a lot easier. So I think that Shen would have been better here, but the Gnar still works. TSM continue to ban Renekton, and TF. I think they'll continue to do so. I just don't think they want to deal with those champions. We'll see if they're still as strong. But yeah, 100 Thieves kind of lost a draft here. Again, they take the Jace, which is a fine matchup, into the Gnar, but outside of that, they're just hoping that they're landing spears and powered up Qs, and maybe trying to hit some lucky scatter the weeks from Syndra. I don't know. Weird team comp here. Now, I will say the early game, again, is a little suspect from TSM, but luckily, 100 Thieves and Closer tries to gank like all three lanes multiple times. TSM does a really good job of just surviving them, which, again, they have the not the better scaling team, but they have a stronger mid game and team fight. There's an amazing roam from Sword Art to help get PoE ahead on the Syndra. TSM again take the Rift Herald, which they have the highest first Rift in the entire league. I don't know what they're seeing that other teams aren't, but they don't normally fight over it except for in the next game. But it's there, it's okay. Sword Art again roaming top helps Huni out. 100 Thieves throw at the third dragon. There was zero reason for them to fight in the corridor like that. They had already lost the dragon, but they just stepped up too much, and yeah, they lose that. TSM takes Baron. Spica misses the smite yet again, leaving an opportunity for 100 Thieves to have gotten it. It was pretty damn close. I know that here's the thing. When TSM's up by that much, there should be no way that they should be having 50-50 fights over things like dragons and barons. It makes no sense to me. They have to do a better job of controlling the objective, something that they were actually really good at when they were playing badly, but something they've gotten worse at as they've been playing better. I don't know. That's a piece of the puzzle they need to kind of figure out. This team also it's clear they play really well around giving Power of Evil and Lost room to move and just do their thing and do damage. And I think that's kind of the way they're going to have to be, especially going into this next meta where it's a lot of ganking, from what I've been hearing with junglers. So yeah, I would like to see them focus on that. They slow and steadily win the race here. And at that point, a lot of people are like, are TSM the best team in the LCS? Is that possible? They'd have to beat Cloud9 to do it, but I don't know. Then the dig game happens, and I felt like this was a trap game all the way. All the way. Because it just felt like there were issues here. And we see it in the draft, very specifically. TSM ban the Thresh, the Seraphine, and the Udyr. I get it. No biggies there. Dignitas ban Kai'Sa, which has been Lost's, number one champion for a while now. Smart play by them. They banned the Hecarim, which is fine. They just don't feel like dealing with it. Not that I feel like Spica had that much of an impact on it, but that's okay. They take the Azir away from Power of Evil. Again, super smart, but whatever. Power of Evil has the ocean of champions you can play. TSM takes Olaf, which is, again, fine. They're 3-0 on Olaf up to this point in the season. I know Spica doesn't love the champion, but he works. They also pick the Rel, which I'm like, all right, this is good. Running at them, a lot of engage here. Good stuff. But then Dignitas takes Kalista and Alistar, and TSM respond with Samira? What? Like, really, what? I understand that Samira has a high win rate. I don't necessarily know if that's from her. The more and more that I watch her, the more I'm like, I don't know that I think she's great in competitive play. I think they just want to play her because she's new. Obviously, she's getting the massive nerf bat to both knees. So, whatever. But, it just doesn't make sense here. They have Azir, they have Kalista Ultimate, and they have Alistar. There's no way that she's going to get clean ultimates off. There's just no way here. And I don't know who makes the call to play her there, but there's no reason. And then, after picks and bans again, which I guess banning Lilia is fine, because if the Lilia gets in there, she can just totally stop the rest of this team. I get it, but Dardoch, why ban two things against Dardoch? Makes no sense, especially the Nidalee. That one made no sense. I could get behind the Lilia. Nidalee makes little to no sense at all to me. Maybe she's that much better against Olaf. I don't know, but whatever. Anyways, Then TSM goes into the Corky, which I just don't get it. I don't understand. Like, I know that Corky is your matchup, ha ha ha, whatever. Like, but the way the rest of this team comp is going, you have to get Samira ahead for her to be useful. And you're not likely going to have enough time with the Corky because they're just going to be trying to engage. But again, there's like, you're looking at this and it's like, okay, there is a way for TSM to maybe use the Valkyrie packages and maybe that'll help. And then TSM just lose the game right here. They lose because Skarner comes out and Gnar comes out. And TSM are just in shambles at this point. Like, there's just like, what are you going to do here? And they pick the Lulu, which at first I'm like, okay. I even tweeted it. I'm like, all right, I like this Lulu, right? Like, the idea behind the Lulu is to, buff the Olaf or the, whoever, with her ultimate. She's able to, polymorph whoever is running at them, whatever. It's a good matchup into Gnar. I get it. And we see it, at the beginning. Like, I mean, he pushes Gnar in really hard. But there's not much for TSM to do here. There's no disengage from the amount of engage and team fighting that Dignitas has. This team just feels discombobulated. They don't have what they need, and it hurts them big time. They don't have CC, and they don't have a way to survive Dardoch Skarner. Just puts them in a bad spot. It's very clear, especially early game, like Spica's just sitting there farming, and he has no impact in the lanes whatsoever in this game. And he's just not a great farming jungler. Like, I just think he doesn't like it, and I think it hurts his playstyle. And I think he's still young, and he's learning that he's got to be better on champions that he just doesn't like. Like, the mechanics are there. He just, you've heard how much he doesn't like Olaf. You've heard things, like the what's her name? The Sejuani and stuff like this. Like, because I think Sejuani's gonna come back into the Meta League. He's got to learn to just play these champions that he doesn't like and be good on them. And he can. It's just, it feels like when he gets them picked, he just isn't as excited. And I think that's just him being young, and I think he'll get over that. But I love the beginning of this because they get the first blood, right? And Lost doesn't get it, but the bot lane plays this really, really well. They're getting pushed into their tower, which is a little surprising, but again, like, Samira gets pushed into her tower pretty much no matter what the matchup is. But Sword Art takes a hella good fight, gets them within tower range. Lost gets the kill, but he's got to be paying attention because he's already used all of his cooldowns. And maybe it's just that he doesn't know the matchup that well, but like, Kalista just kites him back and just rends him and kills him. Nothing he can do there. Now, if he's level 6, he wipes that fight. But they're fighting at level 3 and 4. He's just... They should have just backed off. Like, I know that Kalista looks like a really good target there. She only has like 300 health, but it's like... Unless if Sword Art's able to get, like a knock up, keep her from being able to use some of her abilities, it's just a bad fight. They took a lot of damage in it. Take the one and get on out. Then, even worse, like, yes, they end up getting the 2 kills, which is fine. I still think they could have backed off and it would have been better. But they get the 2 kills, but they both go on to Sword Art. And that's just not going to help when you have a support that's a CC bot. It's another good fight at Dragon. The great TP, early TP from Huni. Everybody does their part. Again, Lost is not level 6. I think if he is, I think they just wipe that fight. But then they're ahead. They're up 4 kills to 2. They've got a dragon. They're pushing in the lanes well. This game's looking good again. Actually, one of their better early games of the weekend. Probably of the year. And then they fight at the Rift. Again, I talk about the fetish in the last 2 games. What is up with the Rift here? Just give it up. You don't have position. Nobody's there. You have a Corky who's not going to do enough damage yet. Like, there's no reason to fight there at all. Whatsoever. And they just give away the Rift. They give up 2 maybe 3 kills. I don't remember exactly. And I hate it. I hate it so much. Then I'm looking and I'm like, why is PoE taking shield bow? Is he really that afraid of the damage? Like, I don't know. I don't know what to play on Corki right now. I don't even know if Corki's all that great in the meta. I don't see a lot of people taking him. But holy shit. Like, I just don't get it. You know, and I know that PoE's a better Corki than this, but you know, his two builds, and maybe it's just Corki's in such a weird spot that the builds aren't working. I don't know. Somebody was talking to me, they were like, you know, maybe this is an experiment game with TSM, which that's fine, but like, I don't know. Nothing felt right about this game. Dig is just built to kill Samira before she can do anything, which then makes PoE completely useless because he can't pour out enough damage until the game gets late. They lose the Baron, they lose the Drake, right? Like they lose the Baron Smite, which they have no reason to whatsoever, but because the Rel is the only thing that can stop them, because it's the only form of CC that they really have to try to hold the Skarner back, he's just able to just run right through him and steal it, which again, Spica misses a smite. Then they go to the Drake. Spica's already slightly tilting because he's on a champion he doesn't like. He's lost the Baron. He has had no impact so far in the game, really. And then he dies again, or he gives up the Drake with a missed smite again. And the game's already spiraling out of control. They try to take another fight, and Spica's just in the weirdest spot trying to 1v1 the Skarner, I believe. Or no, it's the Gnar. And he just dies. And it's very clear that Spica just tilted off the face of the planet in this game. And Sword Art being the only engaged, Tardoc just is like, all right, well, if they have no tank, if they have no engage, then I'm just going to take this. And he just runs right up, and you don't normally target the support, but when it's the only way that TSM have the ability to kind of like do anything in fights, it's smart. It's so smart. They just take him out. And they just lose because they can't stop Dardoch. Samira never got fed, and PoE didn't have the time to scale. They were like in this weird middle ground where, you know, they didn't get enough early, and they weren't able to scale into the late game, and Skarner ruins whatever little team comp synergy this team had. So terrible game there. But as I head into topic 2, which I'm only doing 2 for this show. So, you know, I know we spent the first 25 minutes-ish going into these games. I really want feedback there. I tried to do a much deeper dive into these games. I could probably do a lot more, but again, I'm still working on trying to keep these shows in the time constraints that I personally have. But if you guys want more, just let me know. So we head into topic 2 here, where I want to kind of discuss where TSM just currently stand. Which they're in a good spot still, right? Cloud9 is still at the top. They're 7-2. Then there are 3 teams at 6-3. Dignitas, TSM, and 100 Thieves. Evil Geniuses and Team Liquid are 5-4 each, at sitting at 5th at 6. Immortals are 4-5. FlyQuest 3-6. Golden Guardians 2-7, and CLG are haplessly sitting at 1-8. That poor team. I'm glad I am not a fan of CLG. Which I'm sure a lot of TSM fans say. TSM's in a good spot. They are fine. Listen, like, what I wanted most when I saw them starting 1 and 2 is I was like, let's get some wins. Let's kind of not guarantee, but nearly guarantee ourselves a top 6 spot so we can make the playoffs, at least, have some fun in the spring, but really set ourselves up for the summer, right? We want to see the team making strides. We want to see them be getting better. We want them to show that they can do things. I talked a lot before this week about seeing what kind of style that they were going to try to implement, because they need to have, maybe 2 or 3 styles before we get into the summer. And, right now they have one, which is, again, team fighting, scaling, which is one that a lot of teams have. But, hey, if you have it and you're better than the rest of the league at it, then keep playing it. But, they will need some extra stuff if they want to have success at Worlds, because right now they're just playing the thing that wins you LCS, which has never really been a problem for the top LCS teams. It's about being able to do everything else. But, they're tied for second right now. They beat 100 Thieves but lost to Dignitas. I don't know if Dignitas has enough in the tank for them to keep moving forward like they are, but, to its own degree, I kind of hope they do. They're an all-NA team, and I love it. This whole import rule baloney. I hope, you know what, like, if TSM's not going to win it, which I hope they do, but if they don't for some reason, then let Dignitas win the whole thing, because then they can be like, hey, import rule, schmimport rule. Yeah, that works. We're all NA talent. Every single person on this entire team was thrown to the side, said we weren't good enough, and other things that I would, I'm sure, like to say on this podcast, but I cannot, because, again, trying to keep it kind of clean. And, yeah, it just looks good for them. And for TSM, like, that's not a bad loss. They can learn a lot from this loss. It's a humbling loss, but it's kind of what we wanted. Like, I know it sounds bad, but, like, I wanted TSM to obviously win these games, but I also wanted them to, like, you learn more from losing because you see the problems that you have. And we see that when they are taking off of their comfort picks, there are some issues there, and they need to learn to work around them. And TSM had gotten into a really good rhythm with their draft, but they were drafting the same sorts of things. Dignitas attacked that. They took out the Kai'Sa. They took away the Azir. They're like, all right, we know lost in PoE. These are the champions they like to carry on. TSM has been able to finagle things around those two types of champions. But those are the champions that TSM have a lot of success on. We're going to take those two away from them. And they do. And next thing you know, TSM's just not able to do as much. And that's okay. That's good. That means that they can go in this week and they can say, all right, why didn't this work? What do we need to do to be able to counteract that for when teams do that? And it wouldn't surprise me if they lose a couple more games trying to figure this out. And that's okay. They get Team Liquid next week, then CLG, and then FlyQuest. So if I'm TSM, I'm like, all right, we're gonna try to stick to our tried and true strategy, because they can basically take TL out of a top 3 spot with a win against them. All right. And then they have CLG and FlyQuest, two teams that they can absolutely just hammer. I know they lost to FlyQuest at the beginning of the season. That is what that is. This team's a lot better than that first game a couple weeks ago. I'm very happy with this. I think that they look a lot better. And, I know that losing's not fun, but, like, this is just one of those losses where I'm not upset at all. I'm just not. Like, yeah, they lost the draft. They kind of picked some weird stuff. But I'm really interested to see what this next, like, what being on patch 11.4 looks like for this team. Or I think it's 11.4. It might be 11.3. But either way, I know that engage tank type junglers are coming back into the meta with this one. There are things like Volibear and Set, which we know that Spica is great on Set. Now, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be in the meta, but if I hear ganking tanky junglers, that's kind of one that I think of. Volibear, again, is a fun one for this team to play. Sejuani, which I know the Spica doesn't like to play, but it's good. He can play the Jarvan, which I think is great. There's a lot of things that they can play that I think is going to really help them, because PoE is never going to get really hit. Like, he's always going to have champions that are pretty relevant, so that's fine. Hooney's, as long as he can just continues to play some weak side, tanky CC bot champions and team fighting champions, like, that's great. Like, I know everybody's like, well, why even get Hooney if you're going to do that? I don't care. Like, I don't care if even Hanser can technically play them better than him. He's not on the team right now. He's not doing that, so let's just ignore that. Hooney is on the team, and Hooney is playing pretty well, honestly. So, yeah, those conversations just kind of need to go away. I know that people like to push these narratives. Here's a new narrative for you. Hooney is TSM's starting top laner. He is playing well, and he will continue to play well if TSM continues to play him weak side and allow him to have his impact in the team fights like he likes to have. End of discussion, in my opinion. Anywho, this is good stuff for TSM. I'm really happy for them. I think, again, a loss here to a Dignitas team is fine. I have no issue with it. I'd rather them lose to them than to 100 Thieves. And they smacked 100 Thieves. Absolutely shellacked them. And they shellacked Evil Geniuses, and TSM make it through what has, I don't even think, arguably been, in my opinion, it has emphatically been their hardest weekend. They faced 3 of the top 5 teams in the LCS, and they beat 2 of them, and they just got draft diffed in the Team Dignitas one. I think TSM win that game if they have a better draft, and I will stand by that. But again, if you're going to lose to a team like Dignitas, so be it. Now they can recover from it and go on to next week. Speaking of next week, as a reminder, this show will not be on Reddit this week or until Reddit says that it's okay for me to do it. I don't want to spam Reddit. I don't want to overflow Reddit with content from the Game House. I like respecting the rules. I like, putting out the things that are acceptable in acceptable amounts. And so this show will be on Reddit on Thursday, though. I will be posting both shows on Reddit. So again, we will have a Thursday show where I will jump into the week ahead's games, which, I already talked about Team Liquid, then CLG, and then FlyQuest. A nice weekend, hopefully, for TSM. Team Liquid's going to probably come out with a vengeance, but the other 2 teams I'm not overly scared of. I think the CLG game could be a trap, but if they lose even 2 of those 3 games next week, as long as they're trying something new, I don't care. If they lose it with the style that they've been playing, then that's a bit more of a problem. But again, we'll dive deeper into it on the Thursday show. My question of the week will also be coming out on Thursday. So we're just kind of getting used to this. I'm getting used to it. Hopefully you guys are getting used to it. If you like this show, please take a second to like, subscribe, and comment. When you're watching on our YouTube channel, hit the bell icon so you don't miss another episode. I want to continue to push this to be the #1 TSM podcast on all podcasting platforms. So please do a review. And especially if you're on Apple, obviously appreciated. Please share this with your friends. You can find the tweets on my Twitter account or the Gamehouse's Twitter account at TGH Robert Haynes or at TGH Esports. Please use the hashtag Talking TSM when tweeting at us or sharing. Lastly, head to thegamehouse.com. Head to our TSM page under the Esports and League of Legends tabs to see all of our TSM content. I will have my things we learned, or takeaways, piece coming out here in the next day or 2. I would like to get out today. May not have time, but it should be out tomorrow, no later than tomorrow. So make sure to look for that. And with that, thank you for tuning in. Talking TSM comes out every Monday now, and Thursday still, and is exclusively for your TSM earholes. I'm Robert Haynes, and this has been Talking TSM. See you on Thursday.